What if everything you've been told about aging and your brain is wrong? What if the mental fog, the forgotten names, the moments where your mind just goes completely blank? What if none of that was as permanent or as inevitable as you've been led to believe? Stay right here, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you a simple 60-second daily method that neuroscience says can literally rewire your brain, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, step by step. I want to ask you something personal. Has this ever happened to you? You're in the middle of a conversation, and suddenly the word you need just vanishes. You know it's there somewhere. You can feel it, but it won't come. Or you're introduced to someone new, you shake their hand, they say their name, and 20 seconds later it's completely gone. Or you walk from one room to another in your own home and stop dead in the doorway, staring blankly, because you've already forgotten why you came. These aren't dramatic events. They're small, quiet moments. But over time, they start to stack up, and they plant a question deep in the back of your mind. A question you might be afraid to say out loud. Is something wrong with me? If that's where you are right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You are not alone, and this is not the end. My name is Dr. Katherine, and I'm a neurologist. I've dedicated more than 2 decades of my career to understanding how the human brain ages, and more importantly, how it heals. I've sat across from hundreds of patients who came to me scared, people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who felt like their minds were slipping away from them. And what I've learned, what the latest neuroscience is finally proving, is that the brain is far more resilient, far more adaptable, and far more capable of recovery than most people ever realize. What I'm about to share with you today is not a miracle cure. It's not a pill or a supplement or an expensive program. It's a 1-minute daily exercise rooted in real neuroscience, and it has the potential to begin changing the way your brain functions starting today. But before I show you the technique, I need to challenge something you may have believed for years. The idea that memory loss is simply what happens when you get older, that it's natural, inevitable, and beyond your control. This belief is everywhere. It's in the jokes we make about senior moments. It's in the way doctors sometimes shrug and say, well, at your age, what do you expect? It's so deeply embedded in our culture that most people just accept it without question. And that acceptance, that resignation, may be one of the most damaging things happening to the aging population today. Here's what the science actually says. The brain is not a fixed machine that slowly breaks down. It is a living, dynamic organ that retains the ability to grow, change, and form new connections at virtually any age. This property is called neuroplasticity, and it is one of the most exciting discoveries in modern neurology. Neuroplasticity means that the brain can rewire itself. It can build new neural pathways. It can compensate for damaged areas and strengthen weak connections. The brain you have today is not necessarily the brain you're stuck with. It is, to a significant degree, the brain you choose to build. Think of it this way. Imagine your neural connections as roads in a city. Highways are the pathways you use every day. They're clear, fast, and efficient. But some of the smaller roads, the ones you haven't traveled in years, have become overgrown. Weeds have crept in from the sides. Potholes have formed. Travel on those roads has become slow and unreliable. Now here's the key question. Can you repair those roads? Can you clear the weeds, fill the potholes, and restore those pathways? The answer, according to modern neuroscience, is yes. You absolutely can. And the method I'm about to teach you is one of the most efficient tools for doing exactly that. I want to tell you about a patient of mine. Her name was Margaret. She was 74 years old when she first came to see me, referred by her daughter who was deeply worried. Margaret had been a lifelong school teacher, sharp, articulate, someone who had spent decades keeping an entire classroom of children organized and engaged. But in the 2 years since she'd retired, something had shifted. She'd forget mid-sentence what she was trying to say. She'd leave her reading glasses in the freezer. She once drove to the grocery store and sat in the parking lot for 10 minutes because she couldn't remember what she'd gone to buy. She told me in that first visit, with a sadness I still remember clearly, "I feel like I'm watching myself disappear, Dr. Katherine, and I don't know how to stop it." The truth was, Margaret wasn't disappearing, but her brain was starving. Not from disease. Her scans were actually quite good. It was starving from underuse. After 35 years of constant mental stimulation in the classroom, retirement had brought a kind of cognitive stillness that her brain wasn't equipped for. The roads were becoming overgrown. So I gave her a challenge. I told her it would take 1 minute a day. She laughed. She thought I was joking. But she agreed to try. 6 weeks later, Margaret walked back into my office, and she was different. Not dramatically, not overnight, but meaningfully different. Her posture was a little more upright. Her eyes were brighter. She told me she'd been reading again, something she'd almost given up on because she kept losing track of the story. She said she'd remembered, out of nowhere, the full name of a student she hadn't taught in over 20 years. A student she hadn't thought about once since the day he graduated. She said it felt like a door she thought was locked had slowly, quietly swung open. That's neuroplasticity at work. And now I'm going to teach you the exact same method I gave her. Here is the 60-second exercise. You don't need anything except a chair and 1 minute of your undivided attention. This routine is divided into 2 equal parts. The first 30 seconds are about physical activation. The second 30 seconds introduce a mental challenge. The combination of the two is where the real power comes from. Begin by sitting near the edge of your chair. Plant your feet flat on the ground, about hip-width apart. Sit up straight, but don't tense your shoulders. Keep them relaxed and dropped. Rest your hands on your thighs. Take 1 slow, deliberate breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let any tension in your jaw or neck release. You are creating a calm, focused state. That's the foundation. Now, the first 30 seconds, you're going to perform a simple, controlled arm movement. Starting with your right arm, slowly raise it forward until it's level with your shoulder, parallel to the floor. As you raise it, breathe in through your nose for a slow count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then, slowly lower your right arm back to your thigh. As it descends, exhale through your mouth for another slow count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then repeat the same movement with your left arm. Raise it while inhaling for 4 counts. Lower it while exhaling for 4 counts. Continue alternating, right arm, left arm, for the full 30 seconds. The pace should feel almost meditative. Don't rush. Control is everything. Rushing defeats the purpose. Why does this work? Because the rhythmic combination of controlled movement and synchronized deep breathing does 2 powerful things simultaneously. It increases the flow of oxygenated blood to your brain, giving your neurons the fuel they need to function and repair. And it activates your cerebellum, the coordination center of your brain, which has strong connections to memory and cognition. You're essentially warming up the engine before you ask it to perform. Now, the second 30 seconds. This is where the transformation happens. You continue the exact same physical motion. Right arm up and down, left arm up and down, breathing in sync, but now you layer in a mental task at the same time. This is called dual tasking, and it is one of the most potent triggers for neuroplasticity that neuroscience has identified. When your brain is forced to manage 2 different types of tasks simultaneously, it builds new communication pathways between regions that don't normally work together. It's like hiring a translator between 2 departments in a company that have never spoken to each other. Suddenly, information flows in new directions. Here's the mental task. While you continue the arm movements and breathing, begin naming items from a category. Start simple. As you raise your right arm and inhale, say the name of a fruit. Apple. As you lower it, think of the next one. As you raise your left arm, say it aloud. Banana. Keep going. Orange, mango, pear, strawberry, lemon, blueberry. Don't worry if you pause. Don't worry if your mind goes quiet for a moment. That pause, that reaching, is exactly what we want. Your brain is in active search mode. It's forging new pathways while your body stays in motion. The goal is not speed. The goal is engagement. So, from second 0 to second 30, slow, controlled arm movements synchronized with deep breathing. Focus only on the physical sensation and your breath. From second 30 to second 60. Keep the movements going, add the mental category task, and let your brain stretch for those words. That's it. 1 complete minute. 1 complete cycle of brain activation. Now let's talk about how to make this exercise work even harder for you as the weeks go on. Your brain is remarkable, but it is also efficient. It is always looking for ways to reduce energy expenditure. When something becomes familiar, the brain automates it, which means it stops building new pathways. This is wonderful for habits like driving or typing, but it's the enemy of cognitive training. You need to keep changing the challenge. In your first week, stick with simple, concrete categories. Fruits one day, vegetables the next. Animals, furniture, clothing, colors. Keep it familiar enough that you can get into the flow. In your second week, start pushing a little harder. Pick a letter, Let's say the letter M, and name anything that starts with that letter. Mountains, music, marble, midnight, machine. This kind of open-ended search forces your brain to scan memory in a completely different way. In your third week, try working with numbers. While moving your arms, count backward from 100 in steps of 7, 100, 93, 86. If you lose your place, simply breathe, find the last number you remember, and continue. The recovery itself is part of the training. In your fourth week, combine categories in the same session. Name a country, then a food, then a color, then an animal, rotating through them. The unpredictability keeps your brain from settling into a pattern. The golden rule is this: the moment the exercise feels easy, it's time to make it harder. Slight mental effort, the feeling of reaching for something that isn't quite at your fingertips, is the signal that neuroplasticity is being triggered. Comfort is the enemy of progress. Now I want to address 3 mistakes I see people make that dramatically reduce the effectiveness of this practice. The first is moving too fast. This is the most common error by far. People start rushing through the arm movements, their breathing becomes shallow, and the whole exercise turns into something frantic rather than focused. That's not what we're after. This exercise should feel slow, deliberate, and almost calming in its pace. If you feel rushed, slow down by half. The second mistake is inconsistency. Doing this for 2 days and then skipping a week will not work. The brain responds to repetition. It needs regular, consistent signals to justify building and maintaining new pathways. Attach this routine to something you already do every single day. Before your morning coffee, right after you brush your teeth, before you sit down for lunch. Make it non-negotiable. The third mistake is doing it with distractions. The TV is on, your phone is buzzing, someone is talking in the background. That 1 minute of focused attention is the active ingredient. Without genuine focus, you're just moving your arms. Close the door, silence your phone, and give yourself this 1 minute with your full presence. There are also a few small enhancements that can meaningfully boost your results. Drink a full glass of water before you begin. The brain is approximately 75% water by composition, and even mild dehydration measurably impairs cognitive function. Hydration isn't a small thing, it's foundational. Before you start each session, take 10 seconds to recall something positive. A memory of a person you love, a place that brings you peace, a moment that made you smile. This brief emotional priming releases neurochemicals that enhance learning and memory consolidation. And finally, teach this to someone else. Explain the technique to your spouse, a friend, a neighbor. Walk them through it. When you teach something, your brain organizes and strengthens the very pathways associated with that knowledge. You learn it more deeply by sharing it. Here is what I want you to take from everything we've covered today. Memory decline is not a verdict. It is not a sentence you are required to serve. The brain's capacity to change, to heal, to adapt, to build new connections, does not expire with age. It is available to you right now, today, in this moment. What you do with it is a choice, and that choice begins with 1 minute. I'm asking you to make a commitment, not to me, to yourself. For the next 7 days before you start your morning, give your brain 60 seconds of focused engagement. 7 days, 7 minutes total, and then come back and tell me what you noticed. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe you were a little sharper during a conversation. Maybe a name came to you more quickly than it usually does. Maybe the fog lifted, just slightly, on a morning it usually lingers. Share it, because your story might be the exact thing that gives someone else the courage to begin. If this kind of evidence-based practical approach to brain health is what you're looking for, subscribe to this channel. Every video I create is designed to give you real tools grounded in real neuroscience. No hype, no empty promises, just what the research actually supports and what I've seen work with real patients in real life. Your brain built the life you've lived. Every memory, every relationship, every skill, every moment of joy, your brain carried all of it. It has served you faithfully, and now it is asking you for something simple in return. 1 minute. 1 minute of intention, of motion, of engagement. That's all. Don't let another day go by where you simply accept that things will keep getting worse. Start today, stay consistent, and trust in the extraordinary capacity of the most complex organ in the known universe, the one living inside your skull, waiting for you to give it a reason to grow. I'm Dr. Katherine. Thank you for being here. Now go find a chair and give your brain the minute it deserves.